Greetings, tuberistas. By now, we've all absorbed the tragedy of the mass murder of little children and their teachers at Sandy Hook Elementary of Newtown, Connecticut, USA. 20 first graders, 12 girls and 8 boys, ages 6 and 7, lost their lives with 8 of their teachers at the hands of one of their teacher's sons, who opened fire on them with a .223 Bushmaster semi-automatic rifle, a 10mm Glock, and a 9mm Sig Sauer. He completed his class presentation with suicide. Those who are out to destroy the public schools are NRA survivalists reveling in the unraveling of civil society are wisely laying their heads low. An outraged public is ready to tear those heads from their shoulders and shit down their necks for the predictably snarky and blindly insensitive remarks they have made. And those of you that have children or are around them can perhaps imagine the shock, the fear, and the confusion those children felt in their last moments. How they would look up at their teachers to ask why, as children do. What answer could they get, seeing those that were their protectors and guides in those first days in the world cowering in the corners with them, as vulnerable and helpless as they were? Why was this happening? Am I going to die? What did I do wrong? Is God doing this to me? I thought He loved me, and you loved me, and would protect me from being hurt. One minute they're cutting out pictures of cute little animals to put on the bulletin board. The next, they're blown to pieces, just like those animals in hunting season. So how could you answer them in those last minutes, when you have no answers yourself? The U.S. has been forced to take stock of itself as a nation, as a society, as a culture, and to what it stands for. This will be as landmark a moment, probably as great and defining, as self-defining, as 9/11 and the American response. Only how do you lash out at the world with this one? How to project it onto the evil-doing others in the world who hate us because we're us and are out to get us right at home, when the enemy is part of your own home. Perhaps one way out of this is to re-examine the American way of doing things, not just gun control laws, though the U.S. gun industry is as greedy for profit as any military-industrial death merchants, employing well-funded lobbyists to spin out sophistries on how we need even more arms to keep us strong and free. Do you really think arming teachers with Glocks strapped to their thighs is the kind of environment children should grow up in? How they should embrace the world in their first years of contact with it? Then why not just arm the kids too while you're at it? So many chickens have come home to roost here, but hopefully many Americans will rise above anger, grief, and self-pity and can face up to what's needed. A change from the callous, fuck 'em all and let God sort 'em out mentality that has ruled this country and its teachers and its leaders like a one-party ideology for over a decade. Otherwise, how do you answer that childish question of why? Because having my Bushmaster by my side makes me feel strong and free? Because my sense of power and entitlement to have an assault weapon to protect me from Obama socialism supersedes your right to life, little girl, little boy? And that's what the gun lobby and NRA fanatics are essentially saying. Their right to possess military firepower is purchased not just on the open market, but in the blood of little children. The point of these weapons is supposedly to protect such little children. I'll wager in any hard currency of your choice that the majority of those digging deeper in their trenches are also anti-abortion right-to-lifers, not antinatalists feeling there's no right to impose life. Are people who are believers in faith and family. Well, it's obvious now what the whole point really is, political fanaticism and profit. Because the militarization of the gun industry and of U.S. society is all about corporate profit. The NRA's purpose is to create a climate of fear, of government, of crime, and guide the fearful to salvation in the form of semi-automatic redemption. There is power in the blood, as the old hymn says, in the blood of commies and welfare crackheads, and now little children in classroom play. The murder instrument of this particular incident, the Bushmaster assault rifle, was invented specifically to step around the 1994 federal ban on military assault weapons in the civilian gun market. By removing specifically military features like bayonet mounts, Bushmaster technically avoided the letter of the law while shitting on its principle, putting a military weapon into civilian hands. The purpose of assault weapons like this is only to kill people, not hunt deer. Had the crazed killer of Sandy Hook come bursting into school armed with a bow and arrows, there would have been far fewer casualties on these particular out-of-season Bambis before he was stopped. There would have been no prying his Bushmaster from his cold, dead hands, or tying up the cold, dead hands of 20 children and the women who sought to protect, shield, and comfort them in their last moments of mortal existence. Perhaps We can atone for this self-massacre by extending a hand to those around the world whom we have put in the same predicament. Last fall, 3 children in Afghanistan were killed by a U.S. airstrike. Their ages were 8, 10, and 12. They were blown to pieces while out performing a routine household chore in their part of the world for their class of people, gathering dung for fuel. But they were observed digging a hole, which meant they might have been recruited by the Taliban to implant an IED. So their activity was terminated by the M142 high-mobility artillery rocket system. Following this, just this month, the Military Times for December the 3rd has published a scrofulous and despicable article titled, "Some Afghan Kids Aren't Bystanders." Now the mission is not only to look for military-age males, says the Lieutenant Colonel of the 1st Battalion 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment, it's to look for children with potential hostile intent. Not just little kids caught with harmful toys in their little hands who have been sent outside to play rough with U.S. troops, but any children doing anything an armed soldier might disapprove of are to become a legitimate target of war. Now, with this kind of mentality accepted in the highest reaches of power in this country, why is someone whose thinking is no better than a child's, like a mental patient, so off base when picking up a gun at home? The mental patient at least has an excuse, insanity, for murdering children in cold blood. What can you, as a supposedly rational adult, offer as your excuse? When that Afghan child asks why, as she's about to be deconstructed like a bad toy, what are you going to tell her? Because it secures the area? Because it makes you feel strong and free? Maybe it should tell you that if you're put in the position where you have to target children to fulfill your mission is fundamentally fucked, and you shouldn't even be there in the first place. Uh-oh, who can that be on the YouTube line? Hello? Who? Hey, yeah? You're the former 2nd Lieutenant of the United States Army of Company C at Pinkville. Well, not surprised to hear from you. You just wanted to say that it's hypocritical that you're still branded a war criminal 4 decades after your trial by a society that allows the same thing to happen to its own children at home. As you said during your trial, I was ordered to go in there and destroy the enemy. That was my job that day. That was the mission I was given. I did not sit down and think in terms of men, women, and children. They were all classified as the same, and that's the classification that we dealt with over there, just as the enemy. I felt then, and I still do, that I acted as I was directed, and I carried out the order that I was given, and I do not feel wrong in doing so. Well, yeah, isn't that sort of just crazy? They didn't let you off for following a crazy interpretation of a crazy order in My Lai, did they? Well, I'm not one for pardoning war criminals, but if the U.S. justice system drops the ball on this one, you have a very strong case for your rehabilitation, sir. Hell, the U.S. Supreme Court might even give you a Medal of Honor. Hey, who are you? Put that down. Hey. All right, I'm putting the camera down. Just don't pull the trigger. Don't.